Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Friday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners. Do you hear that? Shh, shh, shh. Do you hear it? Friday night is coming!
Yeah.
I hope I made a couple people jump.
Getting close to spooky season, I see.
It is.
Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, why don't we jump right into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew? What did you craft today?
Well, I crafted for you something really special for Friday. It has hibiscus, rosehip, rooibos, elderberries, currants, blackberry leaves, and cranberries.
That's a lot.
Hopefully it's delicious.
Oh, yeah. That's really good.
Does it kind of remind you of like cranberry that would go on a turkey?
Yes. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hoping for.
Thanksgiving in a cup?
Yeah, that's why I added the currants, the elderberries, and the cranberries, because I wanted to make it like really tart.
It's very.
But I wanted to kind of smooth it out.
It's really good. It's got a soft, it's delicate, but it's got a bunch of different grape in there.
And the smell.
Yes. I would wear that.
Yes.
Well, are we ready to get into the stories?
Yes, we are. For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story. Am I the a-hole for showing my son a spicy gif when he kept complaining he had to pee? Not the highest stakes, but I'm at a bit of a loss. So the other day, we were riding back from Virginia when we visited some family over the weekend, and we're on the highway. My son keeps complaining that he needs to take a piss, but we're pretty far from any exits, and the traffic is absolute hell. I was really tempted to just give him an empty bottle, but then I had another idea and showed him this spicy gif of a hot model I had saved on my phone. So I'll go ahead and show you this spicy gif so that you get some understanding of the context, but unfortunately, it's not very appropriate for us to show on the channel or to actually link. You'll have to search for it inside the comments section.
Okay. All right.
When we finally got to an exit, my husband asked what I did because our son had stopped complaining, so I showed him the gif. He was like, "What the fuck? Why did you show him that?" I'm like, "Why not?" Our son recently turned 18 and the gif wasn't pornography, just spicy. I have no idea why, but my husband was, and still is, determined to die on the hill that it was whack for me to have shown that gif to our son and that it was inappropriate. Am I the a-hole? I really don't think so, but maybe there's some kind of major angle I'm missing here. My husband is usually very reasonable, so I'm a bit shooketh.
Shooketh.
It's been a long time since I heard that.
Or the word whack.
Yeah.
Let's start with the facts of the story. So our OP is probably somewhere in her late 30s, early 40s in that area because they say they have an 18-year-old son.
And we don't actually know what her age is, so yeah, that seems to be pretty accurate.
So they're on a road trip. She says it's her husband, herself, and her 18-year-old son. I guess he really has to go to the bathroom. And she says as he's complaining about having to go, that she's contemplating decisions. One of them is that she's going to give him a bottle to pee in. And then the other one, for some reason, instead of stopping anywhere, I guess she whips out her phone and shows him that spicy gif. That's a weird decision to have saying. I would never share that with our 16-year-old son. I'd never go out of my way to be, here, look at this.
But I guess in this case, it would be more like I'm sharing it with our 16-year-old son.
And even then, I'd be kind of quizzical that you would have done that as his mother.
Yeah, that's just
I don't know how many moms go out of their way to show their sons spicy gifts, but maybe that's a thing that's happening now in the culture that I don't know about.
I hope.
But we don't do that.
That
now,
just seems a little weird to me.
It is weird. He's 18. So, I mean, no matter what he sees at that point, he's an adult. So we'll start with that fact. Would I still feel the same way if you did that if our son was 18? I would still look at you kind of quizzically and go, I mean, why though? You're his mom. So maybe we need to have a conversation.
What are you hiding on your phone, Voyse?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be bothered by it, but I still would go a little weird that you're trying to share that with him. But I guess I'm going to have to say that I think it would make her the a-hole, but I almost feel like it's a prudish thing for me to say just because I don't find anything wrong with the picture itself. I just find something wrong with like the situation. Don't get me wrong. Everyone has different relationships with their kids as far as that type of stuff is concerned. Like with Voyse and I, we've never shied away from material like that if it's shown in a movie or a TV show and our son has questions.
You can't control it and you try and keep an open door, but we're also not endorsing it.
Yeah, I'm not like sitting there throwing up a bunch of stuff at our kids. So I guess I'll say it like this. I do believe you're the a-hole. Yes, I would definitely wonder why.
It's so that he gets a boner so that his urge to pee goes away. Well, apparently that was the intention of what she did. And let me go ahead and provide you with the consensus of what Redditors were saying. They said, this is really weird. It's really creepy, and it's kind of messed up that you would use your son's physical body like that against him. And where is it that it's okay to do that as a parent?
Yeah, it's kind of gross.
It's manipulation at its weirdest. And a lot of people said, your husband's right. That is not appropriate. We're starting Friday off
with a very weird story. Yeah.
It is very weird. I had to share it because I was confused as to why anybody would actually put that out there.
She was very comfortable with the internet. That's what it tells me.
Well, let's go on to our next story and see what we think about this. Am I the a-hole? My male 28 wife, female 27, wants to take my vehicle to get botox after she lied to me about it. A year ago, my wife, 27, went out and got lip injections after I asked her not to and was upset because it's not something I like at all in a woman. She lied about what she was doing and did it anyway. Then a few months after that, she went and got botox for her forehead and nose. This is after we talked about lying about the lip injections and how I hate these kinds of things on women. Nobody escapes time and age. Now, tomorrow she is asking to take my vehicle because she is getting botox again, apparently, for the same places, forehead and nose. Something makes me think it's more than that. I denied her my vehicle because I feel I would be enabling her behaviors, and I also do not approve or condone what she is doing. She seems to think I'm a complete dickhead because of this. Am I the a-hole?
What a spicy of a story. So, let's get into it. OP is a 28-year-old male.
Correct.
His wife is 27. So, about a year ago, she wants to get Botox for the first time. And he tells her, I don't like that. And I guess somewhere along the way, she says, okay, well, I'm not going to get it then. But then she goes ahead and does it.
Forehead and nose this time.
So there's already the foundation here. Now we see his viewpoints on it. He says, honestly, I don't like that in a woman. His wife, though, values it. That's the way she wants to look. That's what she wants to do to her body. He's not understanding that point. Now, what they've done is created a very unhealthy balance in their relationship where he's unwilling to see any of what she wants. And now, in return, she's not telling the truth because he's created an environment where that now festers because they're not communicating. So what did you expect to come out of that? That she was just going to be okay with being told what to do as if you're her father? That's not going to work. You created that problem, and now she's more than okay with going behind your back and doing what she wants to do because she also is an adult and gets autonomy as well, just like you. You know, maybe instead of telling her no right at the start of it, and I'm certain that's how it went, you probably should have sat down with her and really figured out what it is she's seeking. Why is it that she feels that way? Because even if she does, at the end of it, you saying, hey, I don't think you need those things. If she still feels that way, you kind of have to let it just be what it is because you're not her owner. Unfortunately, that's what she feels like she has to do with her body. Whether or not I agree with those things has nothing to do with the story. I think people should accept themselves as themselves. I love every wrinkle that we're getting as we're getting older, and I've always told Voyse that. But everyone comes from different things and values different things. And he has to respect that. No differently, if Voyse came to me and said that that's what she wanted to do, as much as I might not like that, I still have to respect that that's something that you want to walk. So in my mind, OP, you're definitely the a-hole. Because at the base of the story, it feels like your wife has had to learn how to lie to you.
That's very deep. And let me just go ahead and say, the consensus, definitely the a-hole. A lot of Redditors picked up on certain things that they said is not good. Things like, I denied her my vehicle and enabling her behaviors.
Could I ask about that? I did want some more detail on that, though, because he says that she asked to borrow his car.
Inside of the thread, he actually put down that hers is in the mechanic. So she's currently trying to borrow his car so she can go get
Okay,
Botox.
so it's not a situation where there was only one car in the household and she was asking permission to use it.
Correct.
Okay, that was my fear after hearing his story.
So while the consensus on my end is overwhelmingly he's the a-hole, there are some stances of everyone sucks here. And the stances are this. He's the a-hole because he's very controlling.
Sure.
The way that the relationship seems to stem is exactly as you said. Apparently, he doesn't like what she does so much that she's got to hide and lie it. And that's where the everyone sucks comes in, because
She still's lying.
she is still lying.
You can still
about
control how you operate.
it. Correct.
I get it, but to a point. We don't know what the controlling did and how far that went down, where she feels that everything she has to do is lied about.
I think that's where, for me, it comes down to the way that he talks and presents himself. It's like their relationship is kind of skewed.
I mean, yeah.
I think the thing that really bothered me is she's asking to take my vehicle because she's getting Botox again. And he actually capitalizes again. I think for him, it's like he's belittling her decisions on her trying to, I guess for me, it's be able to look at herself in the mirror and be happy with what she sees. Now, he did put an edit down, so let me go ahead and add this edit in. He said, I guess I'm the a-hole and we'll just have to get over the whole line a bunch of times to me. I think that in itself spoke volumes to how he took the critique when a lot of Redditors were siding with everyone sucks here. Sure, he shouldn't control, but a lot of people were trying to understand it from his viewpoint that he also doesn't agree with it. He can not agree with it, but he has to respect her choice.
Sure. Just the same as she has to do that for him. But that's interesting because he's not taking accountability for what he's created in their relationship.
Correct.
Where she feels like she has to lie.
It felt like a really big backhand to a lot of the commenters leaving their advice. Sure, everything gets a little heated in the comment section, and a lot of people become biased one way or the other.
Sure, through those actions.
But overall, you can glisten the truth through everything that people say.
It gets interesting that he would bark back at people for them saying, yes, you're right to have the feelings you do. It's perfectly acceptable to have that feeling. But where you're wrong is you can't control someone. I don't understand why you can't see that part.
Well, it seems like our poster will have to go ahead and reflect on how he perceives the world. And let's see how this next couple perceives the world together. For our next story. Am I the a-hole for hating where my wife is going to get a tattoo? My wife, 28 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 3 years. I love her to death, and she is the best thing in my life. However, she wants to get a tattoo. She already has 4, hip, bicep, shoulder, side boob, and I have no problem with them. I have 2 myself. This proposed tattoo, though, is causing problems. She wants to get a fairly large floral design with a hummingbird on her chest. It would be from just under her collarbone to down between her boobs. It would be visible in nearly every shirt she'd wear. I'm begging her to reconsider where it goes. I don't like the location of where she wants to get it. This has caused a few arguments with her calling me an a-hole and mostly cites it as her body and I shouldn't be controlling her. I don't have an issue with the tattoo itself. I have an issue with where she wants it. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I find chest tattoos unattractive. I like the design. I don't like the size or location. Am I the a-hole?
Ooh, boy. A spicy meatball of misunderstanding that you don't control people. I don't care what your preference is for your tattoo or what you do or do not like or how big or how small something can appear on someone's body. You do not get a say over them, period. You said RP is 34 and his wife is 28.
Correct.
She wants to get an interesting tattoo right down the center of her chest, a hummingbird and a floral design. Pretty cool.
I think that would be really pretty.
And everyone's allowed to have their opinions on it. But he does not want that. He has made it very clear that he is not okay with the location or the size. Because apparently you'll be able to see it through all of her shirts. So him and his wife are having a back and forth now, and he tells her that he doesn't want that. You do not have a right to tell anyone, man or woman, in your life what they can do with their body. You are allowed to talk about it and give them your opinion and how you feel. You are definitely allowed to do that. And as a partner or a spouse, you should definitely do that. At the end of the day, it's important to see each other's viewpoints on things. But what's not okay is for you to put your foot down as if you're their owner and tell them what they can and cannot do. So, OP, you're 100% the a-hole in this regard. Learn how to communicate and understand from your wife's point of view, not just your own.
And the consensus? Definitely the a-hole. And this is where a lot of individuals on Reddit stemmed. You're not the a-hole for your feelings.
Yes.
You are the a-hole because you didn't let it go and are now turning controlling. That's kind of the end of the line when it comes to this type of story. In the end, your viewpoints matter, yes
they
to
do.
you, and another person can respect those viewpoints, but it doesn't mean that that needs to be imposed on anyone else.
Yep. Like I said, you owe it to your partner to have the constructive conversation about it. What you're not allowed to do is control them.
Well, I know these relationships have been a little rough with us. Whew.
Good luck on your tattoo. I hope you do get it, though.
Oh, yes. If anything, it sounds like a very lovely tattoo. Now, for our next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting time alone with my first child after he's born without my stepchild? Am I the a-hole for wanting 3 weeks at home alone without any visitors, including my 4-year-old stepson? We are doing delayed vaccinations to wait until his brain is better suited to handle them. I also plan to try and breastfeed. This has been an extremely hard pregnancy. I really want that time for my child to develop some sort of immune system until he is around anyone but my husband and I. This is my first child. It will also be my only biological child. My heart is breaking because everyone is treating me like I'm a bad person for wanting time to recover, rest, bond, and learn how to be a mom without my stepchild there for 3 weeks. Just because I'm a stepmom doesn't mean I signed up to give away any wants or needs I have as a human. I'm not a bad person for wanting and needing this time or wanting to protect my own child as he's constantly sick, coughing, or has a runny nose due to daycare. His mom also said she is fine with giving us time. My husband doesn't think it's fair. Am I the a-hole?
Ooh, what an interesting story you found. All right, so there's a lot of nuance within this story.
A lot.
Because at the onset, it does sound initially as if just a mother asking to spend some time with her newborn. But there is a lot here. So we'll start with the first layer. They're about to have their baby. She says that she has a 4-year-old stepson. She's requesting that the stepson not be with them for the first 3 weeks after the birth. Now, her reasonings are that because they're doing a delayed vaccination. Now, you can go about life the way you want to. Everyone's allowed to choose for their kids. Whether or not I agree with that, I'm not here to fight about any of that. You should definitely just look at what is in the best interest of the child. And that's where we'll kind of leave that debate, because I know that's a very nuanced argument all in of its own.
Oh, yes, it is. Very hot topic, depending on how you see it.
But she is using that as an excuse in this story to say that the 4-year-old should not be around them when they have the kid.
Correct.
Now, that would be great if there was no other people coming in and out of the home, like your husband going to go get food and all the other things that you do outside of the home. It's not like you're going to be quarantined in your house alone in a bubble. So if you think that the 4-year-old coming home with sniffles and coughs and stuff is the worst of it, there's quite a lot more that will go wrong by just you and your husband being around the rest of the world and then coming back to your baby. So I don't understand that fight. And then the other reasoning she has for not having the 4-year-old around is because she wants to bond solely with her, in her words, only biological child.
First and only.
Why is this the only? Is this something that she explains, or is just something she said?
It isn't anything that she explained. I don't know why, unless she's just trying to emphasize that that's her child and she doesn't want a stepkid near it.
Okay. See, that's really bad.
That's the feeling that I get.
I will say it like this. You're 100% the a-hole. You can still bond with your baby, even with your stepchild around. I don't see where that's even a little bit unreasonable to think that that can still happen. I don't know where you've gotten the idea that you couldn't still bond with your newborn, with your 4-year-old around. But it goes to show what you think about your stepchild, that they're more a nuisance than your child. Because I guarantee you, if your 4-year-old was your biological, would you still be talking like that? I don't think so. I think you'd be more than happy with letting your 4-year-old bond with your baby.
Very true.
Definitely in my mind, you are the a-hole OP. Ostracizing your stepson, I don't think is the right way to go about that.
Well, the consensus is that she's definitely the a-hole. Now, she tried to refute back a lot of what commenters were saying. She said the child only spends 3 out of 7 days with her and her husband. Her stepchild's mother refuses to also have limited contact. So I feel like there's a lot of butting of hard heads between the both of the mothers when it comes to this whole ordeal. I think for me, what sort of kicked off the "you're the a-hole" was that she specifically states her stepchild is just a visitor.
Ooh, did she really?
And I can't tell you how much, at least I felt the trigger with the Redditors coming through. And it triggered me as well, because as your stepchild, I've never heard of a stepchild being called a step visitor. They're a stepchild. They're not your biological, but they are there for you to love and to nurture, hopefully, a relationship. He's a 4-year-old. I understand you might not like his mother, but you apparently love his father.
I can uniquely identify with that. In my home, I was called a visitor when I was growing up too. So she's definitely got some really messed up morals, if that's how she's looking at a 4-year-old. And she definitely needs to go get some help, because that won't get better.
I definitely agree with that.
Not a guest, they're a child. And you're their parent now. Even if you are a step parent, you are still their parent. And they will feel that.
Oh, definitely will. My heart goes out to that little 4-year-old, and hopefully his dad makes the best decisions.
She sounds very selfish.
Very selfish. And she was called out on that.
Good. It sounds to me as if for her, love has a cap. I can only love my baby.
That was the feeling that I had, where she's talking about this bonding time as if she's trying to fill a meter for her child. And if anybody's near, then
it doesn't count.
Like the bond will no longer be complete because other people will be around.
That's a selfish love.
Well, let's go on to our very last story, and let's see your opinion on this issue. Am I the a-hole for calling my stepsister the ugly stepsister because she freaked out over a nickname? My female 29 family jokingly refers to me as Princess, or the Princess, because I have a reputation for being opinionated and sensitive. This is mostly because of sensory issues, so certain noises or textures grate on me to an extent that I will leave the room or avoid touching things. I'm also just a picky person, and I like things how I like them. So my stepdad started referring to me as the princess, like, don't open the car window, the princess will get upset. My stepbrothers and mom use it as well. It's a running family joke, well meant. I've never been offended by it in the 15 years it's been a thing. My stepsister, Georgia, female 30, hates it. She used to snap whenever anyone said it, but over the years, she just started making the odd passive-aggressive comment about it. Everyone ignores it, because Georgia has a habit of thinking everything is about her, and if it's not about her, the reason it's not about her is because we all hate her, which then is still about her. So our whole family is visiting my parents in the countryside for a couple of weeks. Georgia has brought her boyfriend Jason along. I've met Jason a couple of times before at dinners, and he's a nice guy. He's fit in well. This morning, me and my mom were making breakfast, and Jason came down and to help out. We normally have breakfast in the kitchen/diner, so eventually everyone started gathering at the table. We always make the tea and coffee last so it's hot when we eat, and we had all the mugs out, and Jason offered to make the drinks. I told him not to do mine because I liked it made a particular way, and he said, "Okay, princess, I will just watch how you do it so I know for next time," and we laughed. It was a joke. The next thing we know, Georgia shouts, she's sick of everyone calling me. She then swore at Jason for being just like them, parentheses us. She said, since everyone thinks I'm so special, what does that make her? And I replied, the ugly stepsister, obviously. No one said anything, but Georgia burst into tears, pushed her plate onto the floor, broke it, and went upstairs, and Jason ran after her. He's since come down to apologize for her. She hasn't come out of her room. My stepbrothers are on my side. The parents say I should have just not said anything and she would have calmed down, and that I went too far, picking at an insecurity. That might be true, but I'm sick of her making everything about her. The joke doesn't have anything to do with her, and I am, as are my stepbrothers, sick of her acting out to force everyone to behave how she wants them to. Am I the a-hole for taking the argument there?
Whoa. What a spicy meatball spaghetti plate, whatever this is.
I like the flair.
Because there's a lot of wrong that happened throughout this entire story. So OP is 29 and her sister, Georgia, is 30.
Correct.
Stepsister. So she says that I guess the parents married and they blended their families sometime around teenhood. Anywhere 14, 15-ish.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Okay. ROP says it. There is a running joke that I guess got started up around that time that she's particular and wanted things done a certain way and would pout, and she describes it herself.
She calls herself opinionated and sensitive.
And I guess that started people in her family calling her princess, but not in a fun like, hey princess. It's more like to demean her. And
eventually it might have turned into
a term of endearment, but that should never have even been the way it was to begin with, because I'm certain that plays into people's psyche. So if you have a want or a need, you're looked at as being too much, and that's not healthy to put in anyone's head.
That's true.
And that's where I'm coming from, this where it started as abuse. That's abuse. So anytime she wanted anything that was divergent of what everyone else wanted in the home, she was called too much. And it's built into this. Now, where it may have started as abuse, because it is, in my mind, that's abuse.
It's a way of bullying,
and
yes.
She has accepted that fact so much that now she does view it as a term of endearment.
And she's personified it.
Yes. I think that's gross. You shouldn't have to walk around your family members believing that if you disagree or don't agree with things to their 100th degree, that they're going to snidely refer to you as princess. I wonder if it may have started out as, I'm trying to defend my sister from your bullying. And then it somehow morphed and devolved into what it has now, where it definitely looks like Georgia is looking at it through the term of endearment that it has become for their family. Even though it was born from bullying, she's looked at it as, why haven't I gotten that type of treatment?
She even says it here. What does that make me?
And that's where there's a lot of bad. I can't get behind you guys doing that and that being the norm. That's not acceptable in my mind. But we'll go back to the story. Now we get to that situation. We're in the kitchen, I guess. Everyone's doing breakfast together, and Georgia's boyfriend in the morning is making a cup of coffee for everyone. Apparently he doesn't make it to ROP specification, and then he makes the comment, well, next time I'll watch you so I'll know how to make it for you, princess. That comment sent Georgia off. And throughout their 15 years together, again, you can imagine where she's coming from with this, that term of endearment now persists through her boyfriend, something that she still hasn't gotten from her family. And you can tell she's looking for that.
And it doesn't even seem like she has a term of endearment from her boyfriend either.
Not even a little bit. And Georgia says, if she's so special, then what does that make me? Well, ROP has a very nasty comment and tells her that makes you the ugly stepsister. That's foul. There's a thing in there that the parents say that was a insecurity of Georgia's. So ROP said that because she knew that would hurt her the most.
Oh, you're very correct in that. In the comments, she actually said that joke wasn't meant to be funny. She didn't expect her to throw her plate on the floor, but she also didn't expect her to laugh.
You're gross. But how can I expect any better when you've been raised by the people you have? You guys thought it was funny to pick on a girl because she had specifications to things that were differing from you. Do I expect for her to be any better than you guys? Obviously not. That's the culture you guys have created within your family, and she does admit it. Even she's a part of this now. Every family operates differently. I can totally respect that. Some families love joking on each other, and that's how they show their love. I grew up with people around me telling me if someone wasn't giving me a hard time, they didn't love me. I can understand that rationale, but that's not how I would treat our son. I gotta say, probably one of the worst parts here is the boyfriend not having her back. She says that the boyfriend follows Georgia up afterwards, and then he comes back down a time period later and then apologizes for Georgia's actions. That's not your place to do that for Georgia, because I doubt that that's what she had wanted. It just sounds like a lot of abuse got turned into a lot of endearment that got turned into a lot of hurt. So in my opinion, OP, you are 100%, along with everyone else in your family in that room, are the a-holes for not seeing what you've turned your pain into and shoveling it all onto your sister to the point where it sounds like no one's paid attention to her.
Well, you summed it up very well. Reddit's consensus is she is definitely the a-hole. I know one commenter actually said, "Can you spot the golden child in this family?"
Yeah.
I think we can, actually. I've never heard it from quite this perspective. For me, you can definitely see where the OP has absolutely no empathy. There's no emotional intelligence in her to realize what's truly happening. And honestly, that's to the detriment of her parents and their inability to properly raise them emotionally. Not to say that they didn't get a roof over their head and food in their mouth, but that's only a part of parenting. The other part is to show that emotionally you can grow healthily.
Kindness, understanding. Just because someone has a differing want than you doesn't make them a princess.
It just makes them human.
That's where
and
they're
individuals.
Wrong. Yep.
I think in this case, if Georgia has been having this hurt for so long and has made it where everyone was aware of it, that this joke really bothered her, whether it doesn't matter where it started, but apparently her feelings are hurt over it. She was potentially overlooked because of it, and nobody cared. Nobody changed, because you know what? Who cares what Georgia feels?
Georgia's trying to make it about herself.
Exactly. But rather than thinking, well, am I making it about myself by just saying that? Our OP doesn't. She tries to justify it. Everybody is opinionated and everybody is sensitive in their own ways. And here's where I come back to. I understand how you say this snidely being said. For a lot of girls, especially being raised watching Disney, being called princess is something that for whatever reason we want. It's no different than being called fairies or some girls wanting to be called queenie. It's just, there's just something special about those really feminine type names for some girls. And I can imagine our OP's stepsister, Georgia. She's got 2 brothers and a father, and none of them has cared to tell them an endearing name, even though they shared the DNA. But instead, her own father bestows that nickname onto our poster. I can just imagine how hurt she is, because for a lot of girls out there, I mean, generally we tend to lean towards a parent, one parent more than the other. I was more of a daddy's girl. It's where I get a lot of my introspection and reflection from, because my father was the one who told me the only person that's going to know how you feel is you. So you need to understand that part of you. Your brain is just like anything else, but it's bigger and better because it dictates everything that you do in life. My father taught me those very things. Understanding it from the daddy's girl perspective, I can imagine how hurt it is if your dad turns around and then therefore, yes, it might have started snidely, but it turned into an endearment and you get nothing. And then on top of that, she apparently does have an insecurity. I didn't even catch that until you said it. She had an insecurity about her own beauty because her own family has made her feel ugly. And then, the one who gets the most attention is the one who actually calls her that. And rather than anybody defend her, including her boyfriend.
Yeah, she said everyone's quiet.
Nobody does.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
A plate breaking, that was the least of the worries, because in that moment, I bet you her heart probably broke into a million pieces.
Oh, could you imagine being in that room quiet and having that be in the air and no one say anything?
I can't. What I think causes the cherry on the cake here, our poster comes on here and says Georgia tries to make it about her, but she wrote an entire post trying to make it about herself. It really is quite disgusting that rather than try and figure out the pain of, regardless of whether your sibling is related to you or not, a step sibling, a sibling, it doesn't matter if it's a cousin or just a close friend, if something causing a lot of pain, to try and understand where that stems from should have been the first thing that those parents should have done. And the fact that you're almost 30 now and don't even recognize it.
Yeah, that's wild.
I think in this case, we all really know who the ugly stepsister is.
Yep.
I know for Georgia, it's difficult. Honestly, if your boyfriend can't even have your back at a family event, girl, I just say move on, because you need somebody to actually be there for you and show you appreciation and love. And it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a guy. Your partner needs to be beside you, especially when you're getting hurt.
Not apologizing for you to your family when you're upstairs dealing with all of that. It was more important for him to save face with the family than it was for him to be by Georgia's side.
I think it would honestly be the best thing to go no contact with her family.
They have a very messed up way of showing love.
I don't think that they'll honestly fix their ways.
No,
It's
but
been too
there's a lot
long
of families that
and too
operate
ingrained.
like that, though.
That is true.
I mean, there is a lot of them that show love through being mean. Like there's a lot. I hope Georgia can go get to some therapy and talking to the right people, because it sounds like there's a lot there.
I do too. You know, if Georgia ever hears this, you have value, and it doesn't have to be from the words of your family.
Yes, family is who you choose it to be. Well, was that our last story on Friday?
That was our last heavy story before the weekend.
Yeah. Happy Friday!
Happy Friday.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, or follow, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
As always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. And I'll leave you with the question I always do. What are the weekend plans?
We are going to see the Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I love DC, so I'm so excited that we're going to get another movie for him.
Sometimes their movies can be a hit and miss, but I'm hoping this one's a hit.
I think I'll love it regardless.
Probably. And remember, if you post it, maybe it won't be so bad.